Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're tackling a huge topic: how to start a successful business from scratch. We're going to walk you through every step, from coming up with an idea to building your brand and launching your business.
We're not talking fluff here. We're going to give you practical, step-by-step advice you can follow today, whether you're just starting to think about entrepreneurship or you're ready to launch tomorrow. All right, let's kick things off by talking about how to come up with a business idea. It can seem overwhelming at first, but really it comes down to three key things: passion, skills, and market demand. You can't skip any of these if you want to build something that's sustainable. Let's start with passion. You need to think about what excites you because starting a business is no small task. It takes time, energy, and commitment. So ask yourself, what's something you could see yourself doing every single day for the next few years? If you don't love what you're doing, it'll be a lot harder to push through the tough days. And trust me, there will be tough days.
Yeah, exactly. Passion is key because it's what keeps you going when things get rough, but passion alone isn't enough. You also need to look at your skills. What are you actually good at? You don't need to be the best in the world, but you do need to have some competence in the area you're thinking about. For example, maybe you're a great cook, or you're awesome at graphic design, or you're super organized. Whatever it is, write down the things you're naturally good at and think about how those could translate into a business. The sweet spot is where your passion and skills overlap.
Right, that's the second piece of the puzzle: skills. But here's where most people miss a big step: market demand. It's great to be passionate and skilled, but if nobody's willing to pay for what you're offering, you won't have a business for long. This is where research comes in. Are people already spending money on something similar? Are they asking for solutions to a problem that you can solve? You have to figure out if there's a market for your idea. A lot of people fall in love with their idea without checking if anyone else actually needs or wants it.
Yeah, here's an easy exercise for this. Write down 3 ideas that you're passionate about, then go online and see if there's already competition. That's actually a good thing. If there's competition, it means there's a demand. It's a sign that people are willing to spend money in that area. But if you can't find anyone doing something similar, that could be a red flag. It might mean there's no demand, or it could mean no one has solved the problem the right way yet. In either case, you'll want to dig deeper before jumping in.
Okay, so once you've got an idea you're passionate about, and you've checked that it aligns with your skills, the next step is crucial: validating your idea through market research. This is where you confirm if people are actually interested in what you're offering. It's not just about thinking your idea is great, but proving that your target market feels the same way. And no, you don't need to spend months on this, but you do need to get out there and talk to potential customers. Start by reaching out to people who would be your ideal customer, whether that's through social media, networking groups, or even friends of friends. Ask them straightforward questions. What problems are they facing? Would they pay for a solution like yours? The more real feedback you gather, the clearer your direction will be.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to hear criticism. It's actually one of the best things you can get at this stage. It helps you refine your idea before you invest too much time or money. And like Emily said, talking to potential customers is key. But there's also a lot of research you can do online. Start with tools like Google Trends to see if people are searching for solutions related to your idea. Check out social media and online communities like Reddit or Facebook groups. People are constantly posting about problems they need help with, and this can give you insight into how your product or service could fit into the market.
Yeah, and don't forget about your competition. Competitor research is a huge part of market validation. Who else is offering something similar? How are they positioning themselves? What are their customers saying in reviews? This can help you spot gaps in their services or ways you could offer something better. For example, maybe your competitors aren't addressing a specific pain point, or their customer service is lacking. That's an opportunity for you to come in with a stronger value proposition. Remember, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just need to find ways to improve or differentiate your offer.
And here's where it gets practical. You can actually test your idea with what's called a minimum viable product, or MVP. This is a super basic version of your product or service that you can put out quickly to see if people will buy it. It doesn't have to be perfect, just functional enough to gauge interest. For instance, if you're thinking of starting an online clothing store, you don't need to launch with 100 different items. Start with a small, curated collection and see if people are interested. You could even test through pre-sales or crowdfunding to see if people are willing to put money down before you fully commit.
Exactly. Starting small gives you the chance to adjust before going all in. Plus, it limits your risk. You're not pouring tons of cash into something before you know it's going to work. And by testing with real customers, you're getting invaluable feedback to fine-tune your offering. The key takeaway here is not to skip this step. Validation is what will give you confidence that your idea isn't just something you think is cool, but something that other people are willing to pay for. It's a reality check and a green light to move forward. All right, so once you've validated your idea and you know there's real demand, the next step is creating a business plan. Now, don't freak out when you hear business plan. It doesn't have to be this long, formal document. What we're talking about here is a simple plan that acts as a roadmap for your business, something that helps you get organized and stay on track. Think of it as answering the key questions. What are you selling? Who are you selling to? How will you reach them? And how will you make money? You don't need a 30-page report. Just cover the basics.
Exactly. Let's break it down. The first part is your business model. In plain terms, how do you plan to make money? Are you selling a product or service? Is it a one-time purchase or a subscription? You need to get clear on how your business will generate revenue because that's ultimately what keeps the doors open. For example, if you're offering a service like graphic design, maybe you'll charge clients per project. Or if you're selling physical products, will you have a direct-to-consumer model, selling straight to customers through your website? Just figure out the core way your business will bring in cash.
Right. And once you've nailed down how you're making money, the next part is figuring out who you're selling to, your target audience. This should be really specific. A lot of people think, oh, my product is for everyone, but that's rarely the case. Narrow it down. Who is most likely to buy from you? Is it busy moms, small business owners, students, or young professionals? Get as detailed as possible about their age, interests, habits, and even where they hang out online. The more you know about your audience, the better you can tailor your product, your messaging, and your marketing to speak directly to them. And that's what'll make your business stand out.
Exactly. Knowing your target audience helps you avoid wasting time and money trying to market to the wrong people. Once you've defined your customer, you can move on to setting your goals. And I'm talking about realistic goals here, both short-term and long-term. For example, maybe your first goal is to get 10 paying customers in the first 3 months. That's a solid, measurable goal. Long-term, maybe by the end of year 1, you want to be generating $50,000 in revenue. Setting clear goals gives you something to aim for and measure your progress against. It also keeps you motivated because you can see yourself hitting those milestones along the way.
Definitely. And don't forget to plan for your expenses too. Even if you're starting small, there are always costs involved. You'll need to budget for things like setting up a website, buying supplies, or maybe even advertising. This doesn't mean you need to spend a ton up front, but knowing where your money is going helps you avoid surprises later on. For example, write down every potential cost, from marketing to equipment to operational expenses like shipping or software. Having this laid out will also make it easier if you need to get funding or apply for a loan, because you'll already have a clear understanding of your financial needs.
And that's the beauty of a simple business plan. It keeps you organized and focused. You've got your goals, your target audience, your revenue model, and your expenses all mapped out. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it's definitely going to evolve over time. But starting with this framework will set you up for success. You can always adjust the plan as you go, but having that initial roadmap gives you direction. Otherwise, it's easy to get overwhelmed or drift off course when things get hectic.
Exactly. So don't skip this step. Even if it feels like you've got everything in your head, writing it down forces you to think through every detail. And once you've got a clear plan, it becomes so much easier to take action and actually start building your business. All right, so now you've got your business plan in place. The next step is figuring out how you're going to fund your business. And let's be real, this is a step that stops a lot of people in their tracks. But here's the thing. There are different ways to fund a business, and you don't need to have a huge amount of money saved up to get started. Let's break it down. First, think about how much money you actually need. Not just to start, but to keep your business running for at least the first few months. You're going to have startup costs like buying inventory, setting up a website or marketing, but also recurring expenses like rent, software, or materials. Having a rough idea of these costs will help you choose the right funding option.
Exactly. And one option a lot of new entrepreneurs choose is bootstrapping, which just means self-funding. This is where you use your own savings to start your business and reinvest your profits as you grow. The good thing about bootstrapping is you maintain full control of your business. You're not taking on debt or giving away equity to investors. Plus, when you're using your own money, you're usually more cautious about spending. It forces you to think lean and focus on what's essential, which can be a good thing when you're just getting started. Maybe that means you don't buy the fanciest website design or rent a huge office space right away. You keep it simple and build as you go.
Right. Bootstrapping can definitely be a smart way to go, especially if your initial costs are low. But what if you need more money than you have on hand? That's where other funding options come in. For example, you can apply for a small business loan. Many local banks and credit unions offer loans specifically for new businesses. You'll usually need to provide your business plan and show how you plan to use the money. And there's also the Small Business Administration, SBA, which partners with lenders to provide loans that are easier for startups to get. The interest rates can be lower than traditional loans, and the terms are often more flexible, which is great if you're just starting out.
Yeah, and another option is crowdfunding. If you've got a product that people are excited about, crowdfunding on platforms like Kickstarter or Indiegogo can be a great way to raise money. The cool thing about crowdfunding is that people essentially pre-order your product, so you're getting both funding and validation at the same time. You don't have to give away equity or take on debt, but you do need a solid campaign to convince people to back your project. It's important to have a clear message and compelling visuals when you launch a crowdfunding campaign. You want to show people what makes your product unique, why it solves a problem, and why they should support it.
Exactly. And if you're thinking bigger and have more ambitious growth plans, you could also look at bringing in investors, like angel investors or venture capitalists. But keep in mind, with investors, you're usually giving away a percentage of your business in exchange for their investment. This could be a great option if you need a large amount of capital to scale quickly, but it also means you'll have to give up some control. Angel investors typically invest in early-stage startups and might offer mentorship as well, which can be super helpful if you're new to entrepreneurship. Venture capital is usually for businesses looking to grow fast and scale big, but the stakes are higher, and you need to be prepared for that.
Yeah, so it really comes down to what kind of business you're building and how much capital you need. Bootstrapping works great for smaller, more manageable startups, while loans or crowdfunding can help you with medium-sized goals. And if you're aiming for rapid growth, investors might be the right choice. Whatever option you choose, just make sure you understand the terms and risks involved. If you're taking out a loan, know how long it'll take you to pay it back. If you're bringing on investors, be ready to share decision-making.
Exactly. And the important thing is to choose what fits your situation. Don't get overwhelmed by the idea that you need a lot of money to get started. Plenty of successful businesses began with just a few hundred or a few $1,000s. The key is being smart with your resources and finding a funding path that works for you. Okay, so you've got your business idea, you've validated it, and you've figured out how to fund it. Now it's time to talk about branding and marketing, which is where things really start to come to life. Building a strong brand is crucial because it's how people will remember and recognize your business. It's more than just your logo or website. It's the entire experience people have with your company. Your brand is your business's personality, and it needs to align with what your audience cares about. Start by asking yourself, what do you want people to feel when they think about your business? Are you fun and quirky? Professional and trustworthy? Once you figure that out, it'll help you shape everything from your logo and colors to how you communicate with customers.
Yeah, that's a big one. Branding goes beyond just visuals. It's the message you're sending out with everything you do. For example, if you're running a yoga studio, maybe you want to be seen as calm, peaceful, and welcoming. That'll affect your website design, your social media tone, and even the music you play in your studio. It's about consistency, so people get the same vibe from you across all platforms. Now let's talk about the actual building blocks of branding. First, start with a name. Keep it simple and memorable. Make sure it's easy to spell and pronounce, and check that the domain name is available for your website. Once you've got that, you can move on to designing a logo, which can be as simple or as complex as you want. If you're on a budget, tools like Canva are perfect for creating professional-looking logos without needing to hire a designer.
Exactly. Canva is a lifesaver for small businesses. Once you've got your name and logo, the next step is building a basic website. Don't worry if you're not tech-savvy. There are tons of website builders like Wix, Squarespace, or Shopify that have easy-to-use templates. Your website doesn't need to be super fancy at the start, but it does need to be clear about who you are, what you offer, and how people can get in touch with you or make a purchase. Your website is often the first place people will interact with your business, so it needs to make a good impression. Focus on clear navigation, a strong call to action, and making sure it works well on mobile since a lot of people browse from their phones these days.
Yeah, and once your website is up, it's time to start getting your name out there with a solid marketing strategy. You don't need to be everywhere at once. In fact, that can be overwhelming. Start by focusing on the platforms where your target audience is already hanging out. If your business is visual, like a clothing brand or a bakery, Instagram and Pinterest might be great. If you're in the B2B space, LinkedIn might be a better fit. Consistency is key here, so it's better to choose 1 or 2 platforms and do them really well rather than trying to be on 5 different social media sites and spreading yourself too thin. Post regularly, engage with your audience, and give them a reason to follow you, whether that's through helpful tips, behind-the-scenes content, or special offers.
Exactly. Quality over quantity is the way to go. And when it comes to content, remember that you're not just selling a product, you're building a relationship with your audience. One way to do this is by creating valuable content that helps or entertains them. For example, if you're a fitness coach, you could share workout tips, healthy recipes, or motivational posts. If you're selling products, show how they solve a problem or fit into your customers' lives. And don't be afraid to experiment with different types of content: videos, blogs, podcasts, or even live streams. The goal is to connect with your audience and keep them engaged, not just to sell to them all the time. People are much more likely to buy from brands they feel connected to.
Absolutely. And let's talk about another essential part of marketing: email. Some people might think email is outdated, but it's still one of the most effective ways to reach your customers. Build an email list from the start, even if it's small. Offer something valuable in exchange for their email, like a discount, free guide, or early access to products. Once you have that list, keep in touch regularly with helpful updates, promotions, or exclusive content. It's a great way to stay top of mind without having to rely on social media algorithms. And one more thing: word of mouth. Don't underestimate the power of people talking about your business. Encourage happy customers to leave reviews, share their experiences on social media, or refer friends and family. You can even create a referral program where they get a discount or reward for bringing in new customers. Happy customers can be your best marketing tool.
Exactly. And branding and marketing don't have to break the bank. A lot of this you can do yourself or with affordable tools. The key is being consistent and authentic. Don't feel like you have to get it perfect right away. Your brand will evolve as your business grows, but starting with a strong foundation will give you a big advantage. So, to sum up, build a brand that aligns with your values and resonates with your audience, focus your marketing on where your customers already are, and engage them with valuable content. It's all about creating that connection and trust over time. All right, so now that your branding and marketing are in place, let's dive into something that's not as fun but absolutely necessary: legal and licensing. This part can seem a little overwhelming, especially if you're new to the business world. But trust me, it's not as complicated as it sounds. The key is to make sure your business is legally set up and protected from the start. The first thing you'll need to do is decide on your business structure. This might sound boring, but it's a really important decision because it affects how you pay taxes, how much personal liability you have, and how easy it is to raise money in the future. Most small businesses start as either a sole proprietorship or an LLC.
Yeah, and to break that down, a sole proprietorship is the simplest and cheapest structure. It's just you running the business, and you don't need to file any formal paperwork to get started. The downside is that you're personally responsible for any debts or legal issues. So if something goes wrong, your personal assets, like your house or car, could be at risk. On the other hand, an LLC, or limited liability company, gives you more protection. Your personal assets are separate from your business assets, so if someone sues your business or you run into financial trouble, they can't come after your personal belongings. Setting up an LLC does cost a little money, and you'll need to file paperwork with your state, but for most people, it's worth it for that extra layer of security.
Exactly, and it's a pretty simple process to set up an LLC. You can usually do it yourself online through your state's website or use a service like LegalZoom if you want help. But choosing the right structure is just the start. You'll also need to make sure you have the necessary business licenses and permits to operate legally. This is going to depend on what type of business you're starting and where you're located. For example, if you're opening a physical store, you might need a retail license. If you're selling food, there might be health department permits you need. And even if you're just running an online business, there could still be local regulations or a home-based business license required. It's important to check with your city or state's small business office to find out what's required for your specific industry.
Yeah, and don't skip this step. The last thing you want is to get hit with fines or be forced to shut down because you didn't have the proper permits. Plus, having your licenses in order makes your business look more professional and trustworthy to customers and investors. Another key thing to consider is insurance. Depending on your business, you might need general liability insurance, especially if you're dealing with customers in person or offering any kind of physical product or service. This will protect you in case someone gets hurt or property gets damaged because of your business.
Insurance is definitely a good idea for most businesses, even if it's not required by law. And speaking of protection, you'll also want to keep your business finances separate from your personal finances. That means opening a business bank account as soon as possible. It helps keep everything organized for taxes, and it also makes your business look more legit. You can usually open a business account at the same bank where you have your personal account. They'll just ask for your business's EIN, which is like a social security number for your business. And if you're an LLC, they'll need your formation documents. An EIN is easy to get online through the IRS website, and it's free.
Yeah, and having that business account will make things a lot easier when it comes time to do your bookkeeping and taxes. It's also a good idea to keep detailed records of all your business transactions from day one, whether it's payments coming in or expenses going out. You can use accounting software like QuickBooks or even just a simple spreadsheet to track everything. Plus, keeping everything separate helps protect your personal assets even further if you have an LLC. It shows you're treating your business as a separate entity, which is important if there's ever a legal issue.
Exactly, and speaking of taxes, don't forget to register for any state and federal taxes that apply to your business. Depending on what you're selling and where, you may need to collect sales tax or pay self-employment tax. It's worth talking to an accountant or using online tax tools to make sure you're staying compliant. So, to recap, decide on a business structure, Make sure you have the right licenses and permits, get insurance if you need it, open a business bank account, and keep track of all your finances from day one. It sounds like a lot, but once you've got these things in place, you're legally set up and ready to operate without any surprises down the road. All right, so you've taken care of all the groundwork. Your business is legally set up, you've got your brand, your funding, and your plan in place. Now comes the exciting part, launching your business. This is where things really start moving. But remember, launching doesn't mean everything has to be perfect. In fact, it's better to launch with a simple version of your product or service and improve as you go. The biggest mistake new entrepreneurs make is waiting too long to launch because they want everything to be just right. Here's the truth: perfection doesn't exist. You want to get your business out there, start serving your customers, and learn from real feedback. So don't worry if your website isn't perfect or if you only have a small selection of products. What's important is that you start.
Exactly. It's all about getting out of planning mode and into action. You can always tweak things later, but the sooner you get started, the sooner you can see what's working and what's not. Think of your launch as a learning phase. This is when you'll gather real data. What do customers like? What are they asking for? And what could be improved? For example, if you're launching an online store, you don't need to have 50 products ready to go. Start with a handful of your best products and see what gets the most traction. If you're offering a service, maybe start with one core service package and get feedback before expanding your offerings. Keep it simple at first and build from there.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to start small. Even a soft launch can be a good way to test the waters. This might mean launching to just a small group of customers, maybe through your email list or social media followers, to work out any kinks before doing a bigger public launch. That way, if there are any issues, you can fix them quickly without too much pressure. Another key thing to remember during your launch is to focus on customer service. Your early customers are like gold. They're going to help shape your business. Make sure you're listening to their feedback, answering their questions quickly, and going above and beyond to deliver a great experience. Those first customers can become loyal advocates for your business if they feel valued.
That's such a good point. Those early customers can also give you word-of-mouth marketing, which is one of the most powerful forms of promotion. If someone loves your product or service, they're going to tell their friends and family. And if you ask them, they might even leave you a review or post about their experience on social media, which helps get your business in front of even more people without you spending any extra money. And speaking of reviews, once you launch, you should actively encourage people to leave feedback, whether it's on Google, Yelp, or wherever your customers hang out. Positive reviews can really boost your credibility and help you attract new customers. Plus, even constructive criticism helps you improve.
Exactly. And as you start to get feedback and figure out what works, you can begin thinking about how to scale your business. Scaling doesn't mean growing as fast as possible. It's about growing in a sustainable way. So first, make sure your operations can handle more customers or more sales. That could mean streamlining your processes, automating tasks, or even hiring your first employee if you need help. For example, if you're running an online store and you suddenly get a lot of orders, do you have the inventory to fulfill them? Do you have a system in place to track shipping and returns? Scaling is about preparing for growth in a way that doesn't overwhelm you or hurt your customer experience.
Exactly. And part of scaling might involve expanding your product or service offerings based on what's working. Let's say you started with one product that's selling really well. Can you create a complementary product? Or, if you're offering a service, maybe you can introduce a higher-tier package or a new service that your customers are asking for. At this stage, it's important to keep an eye on your finances and your capacity. You don't want to grow so fast that you can't keep up, but you also don't want to stay stuck in one place if there's room to expand. A good way to handle this is by setting clear growth goals, like doubling your revenue in the next year or expanding to a new market, then breaking those goals down into manageable steps.
Right. And another great way to scale is by increasing your marketing efforts. Once you know what's working, you can double down on that. If social media is driving traffic, consider investing in some paid ads. If your email marketing is generating sales, focus on growing your email list. Scaling doesn't always mean doing more. It can also mean doing what's already working, but better. But remember, scaling is a process, not a race. It's okay to grow slowly and make sure you're ready for each new phase of your business. The key is to keep learning, adjusting, and moving forward.
Exactly. And the most important thing is to keep the momentum going after your launch. Even if things don't go perfectly right away, and they probably won't, that's okay. Every business has its bumps early on. The key is to learn from those experiences and keep pushing forward. Stay connected to your customers, stay focused on your goals, and don't be afraid to adapt as you go.
Yeah, remember, launching is just the beginning. The real success comes from how you handle growth, listen to your customers, and adapt your business over time. So don't rush it, but don't be afraid to take the leap either. You've done the work to get here, now it's time to show the world what you've got. So now you've got all the pieces: a solid idea, market validation, a business plan, funding, your brand, and your launch strategy. But before we wrap up, let's talk about a few key things to keep in mind as you move forward. First, remember that starting and growing a business takes time. It's easy to look at other successful businesses and feel like you're not moving fast enough, but every business starts somewhere. Don't get discouraged if things don't blow up right away. Building something sustainable is more of a marathon than a sprint, and that's totally okay. The important thing is to keep taking action and learning as you go. Every step forward, even the small ones, brings you closer to your goals.
Exactly. I think the biggest takeaway here is that there's no perfect formula for success. Every entrepreneur's journey looks different, and that's the beauty of it. You'll hit roadblocks, you'll make mistakes, but you'll also have wins along the way. The key is to stay flexible and open to learning. Things will change, your market might shift, or new opportunities will come up that you didn't expect. So don't be afraid to adapt. One of the best things you can do is keep listening to your customers and the market. If you stay connected to what people want and need, and you're willing to adjust when necessary, you'll stay ahead of the curve.
Yes. And another thing is not to be afraid to ask for help or seek advice. Whether it's from mentors, other entrepreneurs, or even your customers, feedback is gold. You don't have to do this all on your own. There are so many resources out there: business groups, online communities, or even local small business associations that can offer guidance and support. It's easy to feel like you have to know everything, but the truth is, every successful entrepreneur learned as they went. So lean on your network, use the tools available to you, and don't hesitate to reach out for advice when you hit a roadblock.
Exactly. And one last thing I'd add is to celebrate your wins, even the small ones. It's easy to get caught up in what's next or what you still need to achieve, but take a moment to acknowledge how far you've come. Did you make your first sale? Celebrate it. Did you get your first customer review? Celebrate that. Those milestones are what build momentum and keep you motivated to push forward. Entrepreneurship can be a roller coaster, but those little victories are what remind you that you're on the right track. They add up over time, and before you know it, you'll look back and realize how much progress you've made.
So true. It's all about progress, not perfection. Each step you take, no matter how small, is moving you closer to building a successful business. And don't forget, there's no finish line in entrepreneurship. Your business will grow, evolve, and change over time, and that's part of the journey. So take action, keep learning, and enjoy the process. We believe in you, and we're excited to see what you build.
Absolutely. And on that note, thanks so much for tuning in today. We hope you're feeling more confident and ready to take the next step towards starting or growing your business. Remember, everything we've talked about today, planning, launching, scaling, are all things you can tackle one step at a time. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us or share your thoughts. We love hearing your stories and helping where we can.
Yes, definitely. And don't forget to check out the show notes for links to helpful resources and tools we mentioned throughout the episode. We've got some great guides to help you with everything from writing a business plan to setting up your website. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.